Yeah, Eldrazi Post, what we're calling it. In the middle seat, we have Jeskai Control versus Burn. Yes, Andrew's registering Lightning Helixes, so you have to like that matchup. In the standard seat, Selesnya Tokens is Todd Stevens' deck.
We saw a really cool match with McVety against a different Selesnya Tokens player, Zan Sayed, earlier in the tournament, and Experimental Frenzy really showed his power level there. But it's a lot of interesting gameplay in the standard seat anyway.
All right, we're here on Legacy. Clay Spicklemire on Delver, winning the die roll. Starts off with turn 1 Delver of Secrets. Keith has mulliganed to 6.
Many a game has been lost to losing the die roll and facing down a turn 1 Delver.
Jody does have Cloud Post, though. The Locust here enters the battlefield tapped. It taps for 1 colorless mana for each Locust you have in play. So that'd be his 4 Cloud Posts, his 4 Glimmer Posts, and 4 Vesuvas.
You're going to see Spicklemire dig aggressively for a Wasteland if he doesn't have one. I believe the Delver missed transformation to an Underground Sea. So that's the second land he seems to have available currently. Ponder, 3 cards. I think that almost any 3-card combination that had a Wasteland he would have kept here. Just because any deck with Cloud Post, once you waste them on turn 1, you're so far ahead. But he's going to try to find that Wasteland. It looks like he did end up missing.
See, I'm just glad he's not fetching for the second Ponder, because then it would be 3 shuffles. He does play Underground Sea and second Ponder and shuffle off it. So we
That's 2 shuffles, yeah, 2/3. Almost got to my bingo there. The shuffling 3-time one it's so hard. It just happens so rarely, and when it does happen, you almost miss it.
Yeah. Attacks for 1, Jody, to 19. This is like a pretty big miss for Clay. The fact that he had to shuffle off both Ponders, missed a transformation, and no Wasteland. And Jody here plays a second Cloud Post and now plays Candelabra of Taunos with
Yikes.
an extra mana floating.
Yeah, this turn might not be over.
And then he'll untap the Cloud Post with the mana. Does that matter? Are we playing a Warping Whale?
He has 4 main deck Warping Whale, though I would have expected him to fire that off before Clay could check for the Delver of Secrets. Once it transforms, it's a 3-2.
Yeah. So likely he just doesn't have it. Or right. Or it could maybe he wants to make a Scion with it if there are some setups where that is the mana you need.
Could be ramping, yeah. Though Candelabra plus 2 Cloud Posts, nothing else happens. That's already 7 mana.
Let's see, the 2 of them tap for 4. Then you go down to 2 to untap them both.
Oh, sorry, it's 6 mana, right?
Yeah, you put the land drop in, though. That makes sense. And he, plays a basic forest, and now you're at 7.
Well, how about he plays a Glimmer Post?
Okay, so now Glimmer Post means they tap for 7. You pay
3.
You're
you only pay 2. You don't need to untap the Glimmer
So you
Post,
you float down to 5, untap
Yeah.
2, tap 2 again. You're at
11.
12. No, 11. You're right, 11. That's cool.
That's an Ulamog, the Seas Hunger. That's a Kozilek, the Great Distortion.
Or it's an...
Pretty easy Ugin. Really easy Ugin.
It's an Ulamog with Daze backup.
Yeah, don't want to get dazed.
Yeah. This is nice. I guess if it's another Cloud Post, that's even more mana. We'll go through the math as Jody does it. Either way, it's going to be something that I think can answer Young Biomancer. It's big.
These cards are a little bit more powerful than a 2/1 for 2.
Vesuva copies Cloud Post, so he taps the 2 mana, 2 Cloud Posts for 6. Then goes down to 3 mana to untap all 3 lands. He can make 12 here.
Yep.
He has 3 floating.
I have spotted at least an Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunger in hand.
This is there's a lot of mana. Do you go for the lands or the creatures, or does Clay just concede?
Clay probably just concedes. I mean, I would just target the creatures because what is he going to cast?
Yeah.
Like, what? He doesn't have anything about this.
Ulamog with 2 floating, exiling both creatures.
Pick up at least those creatures, maybe the rest of your cards. This game's over.
Now we're still going. Clay's a fighter.
Could draw Bitter Blossom.
Does he have a Diabolic Edict in the main?
In his main deck? I think he has one in his sideboard. Yeah, he has 1 sideboard, no copies in the main deck.
Yeah, he's picking up all the cards. There's no way. Legacy decks are frequently not equipped just to answer Ulamog, because it's not a card you face down that often.
No.
And Jody Keith can take game 1 with Eldrazi Post.
Is that a turn 3 win? Felt like a turn 3 win to me. Jody Keith didn't have a 4th turn he won.
Yeah,
I'm going to check that box. That's a turn 3 win.
You're live for a win now, aren't you?
I got 2 4 in a row now. Looking for an invention.
Another quick win on the standard spot.
Go to sideboards here. Spicklemire, most of what he's up to in this matchup is actually his main deck, Wastelands, which you saw pretty significant misses on those Ponders for.
Right. Wasteland is just overloaded in this matchup. I know Clay plays 4. It's his best card. Jody's main decking Pithing Needles because it's so good against him.
Right. If you go over to Spicklemire's sideboard, he has 2 Abrades, 2 Flusterstorms, 2 Pyroblasts, 2 Surgical Extraction, a Diabolic Edict, a Price of Progress, a Liliana the Last Hope, an Electricity, a Snapcaster Mage, a Grim Lavamancer, and an Umazawa's Jite. Big finds here. Actually, those 2 Abrades for what you were talking about. You want to destroy the Pithing Needle naming Wasteland. That can come up.
Yeah, and we saw Candelabra in play for Jody, and that's something...
Yep, there's a few targets.
That could work.
And Price of Progress can be good for a healthy amount of damage in this matchup.
Yeah, so Jody has 7 forests, but at the same time, he never leads on the forests.
If he's just playing forests, he's not casting anything you care about anyway.
All right, so I like a Braid. We like Price of Progress. Diabolic Edict answers Eldrazi, but is it too late at that point?
I mean, theoretically, Spicklemire could win the game that was just played from the point of Ulamog. If he goes his turn, cast Diabolic Edict. The problem is Jody casts 1 more spell, and the game's just over again.
Right.
I think that it's kind of fighting losing battles. This is the Brainstorm format, so it's kind of low cost to have it in your deck. Spicklemire has cards like, I guess the Bitter Blossoms are pretty poor,
Dismember.
Lightning Bolts, this Dismember. I don't know if I love these Inquisition of Kozileks that he has in his main deck. They hit some stuff. On the play, if you could, tag a Pithing Needle, that's actually kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
But he has a number of things he wants to board out anyway.
Yeah, I was actually wondering cards like Spell Pierce and Inquisition of Kozilek. Okay, you can hit an Expedition map or a Pithing Needle, maybe.
You ever Spell Pierce an Expedition map? It feels good. But yeah, you don't always get the window to do that.
We'll see what we can go toward. Jody Keith's side. Croson Grip, Surgical Extraction, Ratchet Bomb, Trinisphere, Sphere of Resistance, Thought-Knot Seer, Sorcerer, Spyglass, and a one of Dark Depths. I'd assume with a deck like Eldrazi Post, much like with lands, it's generally when you're playing fair matchups, you play your main deck, and then your sideboard is 15 cards to give you a chance against combo.
Yeah, there's some of that going on. Also, stuff like Croson Grip that fights things like enchantments that turn off your lands. Your Blood Moons, your back to basics. In this matchup, those 2 Ratchet Bombs are going to be the big find. They kill some number of Clay's threats, whether it be Delver, Young Pyromancer, or gives you an answer to True Name Nemesis in those kind of games.
So Trinisphere is a card that when I look at a big mana deck like Jody, I almost feel like I should be playing it in the main. So because it's in the sideboard here, does it come in, or is he specifically playing it for a kind of matchup?
On the draw, it doesn't seem great in this matchup here. It's fine. I think mostly it's going to be your technology for a matchup like Storm.
Okay.
A Hail Mary against the Charbelcher deck. A little slow there.
Both decks like lands and Post, when they play against things like, Mono Red Prison or Charbelcher, they just kind of throw their hands up in the air.
Right. Please mulligan the 3 or something.
Guilds of Ravnica has been the story this weekend. If you haven't gotten a chance to get some of the new cards from the set, they are now for order on the StarCityGames.store. We have booster boxes, cases, bundles, the Planeswalker decks, and a lot more. You can get singles and foils guaranteed on the store. StarCityGames.com/GRN for Guilds of Ravnica.
I've been really enjoying this set.
Gotta get those experimental frenzies now.
Yeah.
I have 2. I thought I opened the junk rare, and now I found out today that I have a good collection. It was great.
You should have played them in your sealed deck.
I did not. That was a mistake.
Those cards are good in sealed, too.
Still 4-0'd my sealed. I could 4-0'd it with 2 frenzies in the board.
Yeah, you could have
I played it perfectly.
You could have also 4-0'd. Looks like Clay on a mulligan to 6 here. You do see the Diabolic Edict has come in.
Look, Ryan, if you go 4-0, how can you call it a punt?
You could have won better. See, some of us care about self-improvement and making good decisions, and others, they just look at the scoreboard and lazily call a win a win. But, we're not here to make judgments.
Yeah, while you self-improve, I'll crack these prize packs.
I have a problem with cracking prize packs. I always do that. Like a preordain for Clay, 2 cards to the bottom. See if he has found a Wasteland, but he is on 6 cards.
Yeah, Daze, Brainstorm, Wasteland, Land, and one other. I don't think he has a threat, but Jody leads on Cloud Post, so Wasteland will be welcome here. Clay is playing off the top a bit here as he draws Spell Pierce. Without a threat, last card being Lightning Bolt.
He does have a Brainstorm and a Fetch Land, so this can all be a lot better pretty easily.
Jody, Basic Forest Expedition map. That should earn a Spell Pierce.
Yeah, Clay has Spell Pierce Daze. It's an interesting decision. Because he already has the Brainstorm and wants a threat, that would be the inclination to use the Spell Pierce, even though the Daze would be good. And he actually drew Gurmag Angler,
perfect.
so he can just fire this threat off, and that's just a 4-turn clock.
And this really rewards him for playing Spell Pierce instead of Daze. There's exactly 5 cards in his graveyard, so to play this Angler, it's tapping 2, delving 5. If he had Daze there, there'd be no counterspell up this turn.
Right. And also the way he played it would have been a really good turn just to cast the Brainstorm and use the Fetch Land. There's Maze of Ith for Jody Keith. That shuts off the Gurmag Angler pretty effectively.
Brainstorm from Clay. Yeah, again, he's needing to find more Wastelands. Jody has another.
Wow.
How many mazes has he played?
3.
Okay.
And 4 crop rotation.
Oh, what a great deck. Just doing all sorts of legitimate things.
Yeah, for a deck like Clay's, I mean, he doesn't play basic lands because he's a Delver deck, but you almost wish you were a Blood Moon version.
All right, he does have a second Wasteland, wastes away the Maze of Ith, attacks for 5 with Angler. And Jody has another Maze.
Pretty big deal. Spicklemire picked up a Delver.
Yeah, Jody plays a Maze. And Keith actually picked up a Trinisphere. But Clay draws the Lightning Bolt, transforms Delver, attacks in for 3. Keith knows about the Bolt, so as he goes to 12, he's got to be aware that he's in trouble here.
So his deck doesn't really give him a lot of options as far as playing around things.
No, and he's got so much anti-creature tech here. He's got a Tabernacle as his draw for the turn.
Though he's playing this post deck, he's not playing lands. He can't really wasteland things.
How do you feel about this Vesuva copying Maze of Ith?
I like that a lot better than the Tabernacle. This actually shuts off both threats.
How many Maze of Iths can you beat, Clay? We played one for 3 consecutive turns.
At least the Vesuva enters tap. There is a question as to how many Lightning Bolts Spicklemire still has in his deck. We know he has the 1 in hand, though it is a card that is intriguing to board out in the matchup.
Still attacking Jody, go to 9. Right now, that looks like the last hit will take off these creatures. And this means he can finally start playing lands that produce mana. Still gain life, go up to 10.
Yeah, the Clipper Post is actually pretty good here. That's no longer divisible by 3 is his life total.
And casts Ratchet Bomb.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. The creatures are covered, but that would cover a third anyway.
Clay's going to daze it.
Yep, that's totally reasonable.
Attacks. Both the creatures get lost in some mazes.
Clay is playing 1 Stifle in his deck, so he can stifle a Maze of Ith on 1 turn.
Third creature from Clay as well.
And he has lands to pay for Tabernacle if that's Jody's play.
Yeah. Yeah, we look over Jody's hand. It looks like he's got... Is that another cool land? It may be does he have a Thespian Sage or is that another Vesuva?
He has a Thespian Sage in his deck. I think that's what it is.
The Dark Depths, though, is in the board, not the main.
That is true.
Yeah, as Jody plays stage. And Delver transforms to Force of Will.
That's fine.
Means Clay will get 1 hit in here with an Insectile Aberration.
And I like this on upkeep. Clay's going to fetch that away. He doesn't have a blue card to pair with the Force, and he's really just trying to shove damage. Hey, you'd like to draw things like Ponder, really dig for more Lightning Bolts, try to close this game as quickly as possible.
Trinisphere always wins, right?
Even a Wasteland would be nice.
Right, gets rid of that Force of Will. There's not too much to counter, especially when you look at that Jody's going to have a Trinisphere in play.
Wow, huge pickup for Spicklemire. He found a Wasteland.
That's worth so much damage right now. Jody Keith going to Thespian Stage, copying a Maze of Ith. Yeah. And here's a Wasteland. He'll waste away a Maze, and this means 6 damage going to come in. Jody mazes the Angler. He's at a virtual 1.
Keith needs a big turn here because Spicklemire is threatening a win on the following turn.
Yeah, remember with Ratchet Bomb as well, Insectile Aberrations now have converted mana cost 1.
That's a good rule change for Clay.
Yeah.
They used to be zeros.
Yeah, so Jody doesn't actually have a draw that gets it for him. Now, Tabernacle's the play for Jody, but that's not going to beat the Lightning Bolt. Clay can pay for all the creatures. One is going to connect. Jody's at 4 right now, I do want to comment.
Yeah, so here's a crop rotation. So again, he's playing this Cloud Post deck. He's not playing lands. I'm looking at his deck for a Glacial Chasm. He does play 1 copy of Glacial Chasm, so this crop rotation is actually quite good.
Okay.
Though Glacial Chasm costs 2 life a turn to hang out, if that's what he finds. He could just go for like a Glimmer Post to gain some life, maybe another Maze of Ith. He does have 1 more of those in the deck.
Yeah, and he says it has to be this turn, so it has to be Maze of Ith. And Jody, 5 lands in play and 1 mana. You know, these things happen. But he's not dead. There's that Bolt in Clay's hand. Clay has gone through 3 Wastelands already.
Yeah, and Jody still just has 3 Maze of Iths. That Glimmer Post putting Jody to 4,
yeah, that is the game right now.
That's what's keeping him in.
His hand looks pretty unwieldy. Cards like Ugin with 1 mana.
He's found a lot of breathing room, though.
Got 3 mazes, and Clay just has to pass.
And Clay picked up Inquisition of Kozilek. That's a pretty blank draw.
Jody's going to cast Expedition Map and make a forest. And he does have all his dust in his hand. If Jody can get this mana going, that's a big if. Inquisition of Kozilek from Clay will take care of the Trinisphere, leaves Ugin and all his dust. Now, interestingly, Ryan, on Clay's side, I think it's on to his advantage to attack with all his creatures each turn, now that there's 2 mana up, so that Jody can't reassign that Thespian stage.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. Yeah, specifically because it's not just a Maze of Ith. It's not just the fact that Jody might miss it. He's not going to miss it, but you at least tax that land.
Right. Well, what you don't want to have happening is you just don't attack because why? And then Jody says, end step, copy this Cloud Post, untap, make 8.
Mm-hmm. To be fair, the Ugin is not dramatically different from the fact that Spicklemire already can't close the game with his creatures, but it is a minor thing that it would be technically correct.
Well, I mean, if he attacks the stage, then Jody doesn't have the mana.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, the Ugin isn't breaking this game. The Maze of Ith is already holding Spicklemire down.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, Clay's still just trying to draw a burn spell. Bolts work. With his opponent at 1, I mean, we assume the Price of Progress is in.
Yeah, that one would do it.
He might have put it in his Grim Lavamancer if he decided he had enough dead cards. Stifle could work here.
Yep, Stifle would be a nice one. Obviously, in these situations, Ponder, Preordained, Brainstorm are all good draws.
Jody drew Glimmer Post. That puts him back up to 4. That's a huge draw. Those extra 3 points really mattering.
Oh, yeah.
So right now, Jody's mana counts up to 6 as he'll cast Ancient Stirrings. Once we get an Ugin on the battlefield, that's going to be the game. Or close to it.
If Spicklemire has Price of Progress in his deck, he's still drawing to that.
Oh, you're right. Yeah. I suppose a 14-point burn spell works here. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And on this following turn, if Spicklemire can produce that one of Stifle for the Maze of Ith on the Gurmag Angler, that one is still lethal.
Can Jody play around Price? He just has to dodge it. I don't even know that he can.
I don't think he has Crop Rotation in his hand anymore, but Crop Rotation for Glacial Chasm is a thing his deck can do.
Okay. Looks like Cloud Post or Trinisphere is what Jody's thinking about off that Stirrings.
Trinisphere is actually kind of a big deal on this board because it shuts off Clay's turns of paying for his creatures, Ponder as a redraw. He only has 2 mana left over, couldn't cast any spells if he pays for all of his creatures through the Tabernacle currently.
Now we need to do some math. Jody picked Candelabra of Taunos. Taps it for 1, so right now he has 4 mana available. The Candelabra, because it untaps a Cloud Post, more or less you think of it as tapping for 2 right now. Mm-hmm. So you count Jody as 8 next turn, so the Ugin is online. Everybody gets lost in a maze. And Clay found a Lightning Bolt.
That's the one he had. He found an Underground Sea. Blank draw for this turn. Yeah, was not able to get through. Didn't draw the Stifle. That's the draw he needed this turn.
Yeah. Now, his teammate, Max McVety, 2-1, wins the standard match over Todd Stevens. His other teammate, Andrew Elenbogen, is up. So, Clay's got some breathing room. Ooh, Candelabra of Taunos, untapping Thespian Stage copying Cloud Post.
Yeah, so Clay made the attack you were talking about earlier to tap down the Thespian Stage Maze of Ith, but it doesn't matter in the face of Candelabra.
Yeah, Candelabra plus Maze of Ith plus Cloud Post. Now we're just talking about 1 million Maze of Iths.
Yeah, it's just, there's all kinds of business happening here.
And we will see All Is Dust from Jody Keith.
All right, at this point, Clay is kind of on Price of Progress or bust.
Yeah, well, he still has one a bolt in hand, so I guess another bolt does it?
Yeah, second bolt still, sure.
I don't know how long that's good for. Jody making some more mana. We will also make Ugin, as well as All's Dust in one turn.
Pretty good turn.
This deck makes a lot of mana.
Productive use of mana. All right, that one's going to go upstairs.
And let's look at just Pithing Needle now on Jody's side.
There's Pithing Needle. Spicklemire could crack the Flooded Strand in response. It's kind of whatever. This is a phase where Wasteland doesn't really matter.
Well, there's only one left. There's 3 in the yard.
Yeah, even if he drew it, it's what are you going to Wasteland? Like what?
I guess you could Wasteland if you want to cover that crop rotation Glacial Chasm line you're talking about. Now, what we're really racing here, that -10 on Ugin could put Jody... I guess I'm not even out of range of Price of Progress, but it's getting close.
Yeah, well, if the Ugin just pluses one more time, Clay's kind of dying to his own Price of Progress. Like, it's starting to be a spell that would draw the game.
And Jody did Pithing Needle Wasteland, despite the fact that there's 3 in the yard.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what the card does.
Brainstorm from Clay.
All right, Brainstorm is that. That's where all good turns start.
Diabolic Edict, land, Delver. No burn. And no cantrip redraw either.
No. He'll get to shuffle these away and get another fresh look next turn, if there is a next turn.
Yeah. Puts 2 back on top. And I think, he's got to make that fetch land.
Yeah, he already has a Flooded Strand on the battlefield, so go ahead and shuffle that.
Okay. Down to 12.
And if he is drawing to Price of Progress, I would fail to find here because you go to 12 and then Ugin puts you to 9. You only have 4 non-basics. He might not have Price in the deck, to be fair. Jody Keith's he might not have boarded it in, I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
Jody Keith's deck can operate on 3 lands in a lot of games where you're losing.
Oh, so it's just not actually that much damage.
Right. If he does have Price in the deck, I think finding a land here is just a mistake. I mean, you have to draw the game, I suppose.
Yeah, that's tricky, but I didn't see it, but once now you say it, I agree. If you because then it would be a double kill if you cast it.
Right, yeah. If both players lose the game, no matter by what margin, both players go to 0 at the same time, you do get to keep playing. Jody doesn't just win the match 1-0-1.
Yeah, the match rules are first player to 2 wins is how it's defined. So a draw just means basically it just doesn't score at all.
Right.
There aren't too many cards that can draw games. A lot of them are reciprocal burn spells.
Can't say I've drawn too many games of Magic.
Jody right now is called to judge. He wants the Oracle text on Emrakul, the Promised End. That's what he's going to cast.
Don't often ask for Oracle text on New Age cards. That one kind of tells you what it does. So I'm a little curious on what's going on here. But Emrakul, the Promised End, I think more or less rolls things up here. The Ugin will be able to gain Jody life on the following turn. Unless Spicklemire draws Lightning Bolt or the cantrip into Lightning Bolt, and specifically his extra turn after the Emrakul turn.
Right, so what happens is we get a turn of Clay Spicklemire controlled by Jody Keith. So Clay, we're still on Jody's first turn. Clay's going to bolt Jody down to 1. So the next 2 turns will be Clay's turn controlled by Jody, and then Clay's turn controlled by Clay.
Yep.
In that situation, it's not always great to cast this card. If either of those 2 turns results in Price of Progress being drawn, Jody can't mess that up very much.
No.
So here we have Jody's turn controlled, Clay's turn. This is controlled by Jody. So he's going to crack a fetch, send Clay down to 8.
I like
Clay's
this.
deck.
Yeah, he gets to see the deck in case there is a game 3.
But he has drawn Force of Will with 5 lands in play. There's not much he can do here. You can't cast Force of Will without a target. So this is all Jody will do.
Right.
In a lot of ways, Emrakul actually just had a drawback. She drew Clay a card.
Right. I'm trying to get a look at what's left over in Clay's deck. I was trying to get eyes on a red card. I want to say I only saw 1 Lightning Bolt. He certainly still has all the redraw cards, Ponder, Preordain, what have you. But his odds are slim from here.
All right. So, and top card is Ponder. And now they're playing something for fun because Andrew Elenbogen was a 2-0 winner. But we want to see who wins this. Daze, Dismember, Young Pyromancer. Jody Keith's going to win this one, but his efforts will be for naught as Spicklemire, Elenbogen, and McVety improve to 11-0 with a 6-point lead on the field.
Clay has at least one more look here.
Wait,
he play shuffled the Ponder.
Oh, right. Hold on. And he doesn't. All right.
Right.
Jody gets it. Jody gets it.
All right. His team loses, so
Yes. Jody doesn't lose.
right.
So